Hello, I'm Steven, the calculator guy, and today we're going to talk about something that is way overdue. We're talking about Tomb Finance. Now, I know I did a video about Tomb Finance a while ago, but updates are needed. So if you don't know, Tomb Finance is basically a protocol that aims to create a phantom sort of stablecoin. What that means is a coin that has a roughly 1-to-1 cost ratio to Phantom. So if Phantom is trading at $2, then the Tomb token should trade roughly around $2. This will help the Phantom ecosystem increase in Phantom liquidity, even though it's synthetic liquidity, because you can use Tomb in place of Phantom, effectively bootstrapping other protocols that may need liquidity through the use of Phantom. So how does it really work, and why are we talking about it? Well, we're talking about it because it has a few pools that have been incredibly and remarkably lucrative. In fact, I would say this has been inarguably one of the most successful protocols on the Phantom chain, and one of the most consistently high APRs and APYs on the chain. But how does it work? So with the Tomb token, if it trades below Phantom, so if Phantom is at $2 and Tomb is trading at $1.90, you can burn your Tomb for T-Bond, and then when Tomb goes back above the price of Phantom, you can redeem your T-Bond for Tomb at a premium. If the price of Tomb is like it is now, and like it has been for quite some time, if it's trending above Phantom, then every epoch new Tomb is minted, and that Tomb is given to, as a reward, T-share stakers. So this is really interesting. It incentivizes T-share holding, and T-share previously was sort of like, well, not previously actually, T-share is kind of like a farm token, and you know that I don't like farm tokens, but this token has way more utility than your average farm token, right? So if you're staking T-share, every epoch where Tomb, which is essentially Phantom, is minted, you're getting a portion of those minted rewards, which is why the T-share chart looks like this. From $537, or rather from $200 in mid-September, to $16,000 now. That is ridiculous and incredible and absurd, but that's where it's at. So let's talk about these APRs and APYs really quick. If you want to participate in the Tomb ecosystem and the Tomb protocol, one of the first things you may think of doing is creating a Tomb Phantom LP and staking it. This is excellent if you're bullish on Phantom, because the price of Tomb is roughly pegged to the price of Phantom, so you're not going to experience much impermanent loss, if any, and the APR is 248%, which is roughly 1,100% APY if you're compounding on at least a daily basis. Now, this particular LP, or this particular staking opportunity is available for auto compounding on Grim, on Reaper, on Beefy, and on Yield Wolf. So this is a very popular pair, and you can auto compound it or yield aggregate it on any of the major yield aggregation platforms. Reaper is the one that I like because, in my opinion, my math shows that their APY has been the most consistently close to true estimate, and I'll show you what I mean. So right now, APR says 247. We throw in 247 into the calculator. Let's say there are 0 gas fees per compound, which we know is unrealistic, and they're compounding 24 times per day, which is true. You're looking at a compounding APY of 1,081%. Go with Reaper Farm, and we see 1,044%, which is really close, just a tiny bit less. If we go over to Grim, and I love Grim, so this is not a slight on Grim, but if we go over to Grim and look at their APY for the same pool, unless they've updated it, but we'll see, you'll see that it's saying 11, no, this is the wrong one. This is a great pair though. We're going to talk about T-share next. You'll see it says 1,160% APY, which is more than is feasible or possible given the current APR of the pair over here, right? So my assumption is that this is taking like a 1 week or 1 hour or some time frame average estimate and using that, whereas Reaper may be using a more like shorter time frame estimate because it's been consistently closer to the pure mathematics. All right, cool. So let's say you do T-share Phantom, you auto compound it, cool. You're making over 1,000% APY. You're probably happy, but what else could you be doing? Sorry, that's for the Tomb Phantom. What else could you be doing with that pool? Well, let's look at a few other things before we get into that. If you look at the T-share Phantom LP, now we looked at T-share, which was intensely profitable over the past few months. The APR is 461%. Now, 461% APR equates to about 10,000% APY. I'm not saying this is going to go on forever, but it's been going on for a long time while the price of T-share has been skyrocketing. Not financial advice, not advocating for you to ape into this. I'm just telling you literal facts. That is true. The price of T-share has gone up dramatically, multiple X's, and this APR has consistently stayed above 300, even 400. So it's been consistently, the APY has consistently been above 10,000%, which is ridiculous. Daily APR more than 1%. Like this is an awesome protocol. But I'm not advocating, like it could all crash. I don't want you to be like, but Steven told me it was so. Like, do additional research, please. I can only, like, I'm trying to research everything all the time, and because I'm trying to research everything all the time, there are things that I miss. And I think someone pointed out yesterday that I said Spartacus was not doing a pro bonding, like they weren't going to do like Olympus Pro with the bonds to the service, and they called me a liar and was like, "How you're just shilling heck? I am so sorry." I didn't know that. So Spartacus is doing bonds as a service, and they said they're going to release it by the end of the year. So hats off to them. They're really building out their whole ecosystem. I did not mean to sound like a shill. I did not mean to sound like I was fudding Spartacus. I apologize. I try to get everything. That's why I'm trying to read the docs before I post. Anyways, that's another thing you can do, right? So T-share Phantom, 10,000% APY. But you may deal with some impermanent loss if T-share goes up and Phantom stays stable. Tomb Phantom, 1,000% APY. T-share by itself. T-share by itself. Let's see what the APY is. So we can go over Grim and look at it, and it's about 9,500% APY. So a little bit less than the T-share Phantom, but still really good, and you're not going to experience any impermanent loss because you're just staking T-share. However, we have to remember that the way T-share gets its APR is through the minting mechanism of Tomb. So whenever Tomb is trading at a value above Phantom, new Tomb is minted, right? Because you have a minting and burning mechanism. That's what makes it an algorithmic, stable-ish coin. The minting mechanism says, hey, if we're trading above, we can mint more to reduce the price because supply is increased. If we're trading below, then you can burn it for bonds, and then you can redeem those bonds for more once the price goes back up after the burning. So the masonry, the T-share value is almost entirely reliant upon Tomb value staying above Phantom, and it has done this for since I've been following Tomb Finance, which is over a month now. So I can't predict the future, but I can look at past trends and say that that's what's been happening so far. It could be the case that it continues to happen. So anyways, you would approve T-share, you would stake it here, but you have to realize that stake T-share can only be withdrawn after 6 epochs since deposit. I believe epochs are 8 hours, but let me look to see. Epoch. Every new epoch. How many hours? Can I find the word hours? No. Maybe here? Can I find the word hour here? Hour? No? Platform, maybe? Ah, okay. But how long is an epoch? We'll lock T-share for 6 epochs. 6 hours. Alright, so an epoch is 6 hours, so that means there's 4 epochs per day. So to wait 6 epochs, that's 1.5 day, 1.33 days. So not too bad, right? Your T-share would be locked for 1.33 days, and every 6 hours, every epoch, you would be rewarded by the minted tomb, which is really, it's a very cool mechanism. I have said before publicly that I'm surprised no one has forked this yet on Avalanche with like a synthetic AVAX. But one thing you need to know is that the current sort of leader of this protocol is a billionaire, and his wealth could have something to do with the incredible success of this protocol. Okay, so there are many different strategies with this protocol, and I am going to attempt to calculate them in a different video, because right now we're already at 11 minutes and 24 seconds, and I don't want to just append all of that to the end of this. I'll do a video just for the calculators, which is probably going to be way more boring than this video while I'm trying to suss out the calculations. But what I do want to get to is the exciting new news for Tomb, and that is, if you follow Tomb on Twitter, which is one thing I recommend you do for any protocols you're interested in, is follow them on Twitter and then join their Discord. Those two things will give you alpha and insights that you wouldn't otherwise get. So they're trying to do a few things like be able to collateralize Tomb on Mai, so you can borrow Mai against it, which is kind of neat, but you know, it's not like it's an interest-bearing token. If you could collateralize staked T-share, that would be really cool. But here's what I'm looking at. So there's a new protocol launching on Phantom, which is going to be an Ohm fork done by Tomb. So new protocol launching on Phantom in partnership with Tomb Finance. Our teams are developing an Ohm fork, a reserve currency called Life. The protocol will be similar to Ohm and Wonderland, and then it goes into talking about how it's going to be an Ohm fork, which is pretty big. Now, they say it's going to launch, I think, pretty soon, actually. Okay, as Life builds up, it's gonna, so the way these things work is you give them liquidity and they give you the token. That's the bonding mechanism, and they vest it to you over a certain amount of days. So as they accumulate liquidity as Life, their Ohm fork accrues liquidity, they can use liquidity where they need to use it for the Chainlink Oracle. This is pretty cool because Tomb's whole shtick from the get-go has been liquidity sort of as a service. So I think this actually makes sense for them, whereas in 99% of cases, Ohm forks do not make sense for the people who have made the Ohm forks. No shade to any particular Ohm forks, that's just been the case. Like, it's mostly been a cash grab and like, hey, let's build a treasury that we don't really know what we're going to do with it. Okay, let me not talk crap about any Ohm forks. I like a lot of them. Okay, so this is sort of the last bit of alpha or news. Life, I can't believe this only has 63 likes. I believe this is the 4th largest protocol on the entire Phantom chain. This is a good bit of alpha. So Life is going to be launched on Phantom Pad, which is a launch pad on Phantom. This is interesting because they're not doing an IDO, they're not doing really a whitelist. We're going to have to see how Phantom Pad is working, but I think I haven't seen any other reserve currencies launched on a pad. So this will be interesting to see how it works out. I am definitely intrigued by this opportunity because Tomb Finance's success has been so undeniable, and their leadership is incredibly wealthy. So it seems as if this may be something to follow, which it was all I will say. Okay, so from start to finish, what did we talk about? Tomb Finance is a protocol that aims to create a token with the same value as Phantom to increase liquidity across the Phantom chain. They do this with an algorithmic mechanism of burning and minting with their token called Tomb. When the price of Tomb exceeds the price of Phantom, Tomb is minted and rewarded to T-share holders. When the price of Tomb is under the price of Phantom, you can burn Tomb for T-bonds, which you can then redeem later for Tomb when it increases in value, and you will also get a premium paid to you. Now, if you would like to have some juicy APR on a Tomb Phantom pair or a T-share Phantom pair, you can do that through the cemetery or through various different yield aggregators like Grim, Reaper, Yield Wolf, and Beefy. There are other potential strategies. For example, you could farm Tomb Phantom for T-share and then take that T-share and stake it, and stake it for Tomb. And when you get Tomb, you could take that Tomb and then put it back into this pair. There are many different strategies, and I'm going to attempt to build a calculator that looks at a majority of them, or at least a few different strategies that I think are the most popular, but not in this video because it's already 17 minutes. So if you want to support this channel, there's good news. I have just been monetized. After an incredible struggle with Google and YouTube and AdSense, there was a very kind young man from the Netherlands who is already monetized, who offered to sort of help me with monetization. And so through his own monetization was able to get in contact with YouTube, and through linking our channels, they were allowed to work on my channel. And so I am finally monetized through proxy. It's an interesting situation, but I hope it'll work out. If you also want additional content and some of my thoughts, and I also post some of my team's resources, which are incredibly robust. For example, there's a great, amazing reserve currency calendar, which tracks all reserve currency up-and-coming information. Then please consider joining my Patreon. Link in the description. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching this video, and have a wonderful rest of your day.